Last year, I actually went to the Super Bowl to go see the 49ers versus the Chiefs, and I walk into the stadium and every seat is taken. It was a sold-out Super Bowl. So as the game is being played, I realized that the only open seat in the whole entire stadium was the one behind me, and I couldn't get over the fact that how is this seat not taken? It's the Super Bowl. So I wanted to find out why that seat was empty, so I asked the guy sitting next to it, I said, "Excuse me, sir, how come that seat next to you is empty?" And he goes, "Well, to be honest with you, that seat belonged to my wife, and every year for the past 5 years we've been going to the Super Bowl, but this year she died and she couldn't make it." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that, sir. Enjoy the game, but out of curiosity, don't you have like a family member or a friend you could bring?" And he goes, "Yeah, I have plenty of friends, plenty of family, but they all went to the funeral today." Today I was shadowing a doctor, and an 80-year-old patient came in for a checkup. So the doctor finishes up checking up the old man, and he goes, "You have the body of a 40-year-old and the health of a 20-year-old. What is your secret?" The old man goes, "I'm very close with God, and God keeps me young." And the doctor goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, God takes such good care of me. Even when I get up in the middle of the night to pee, he turns on the lights for me." Me and the doctor were a little surprised, so after the checkup was done, we talked to his wife, and we go, "Excuse me, ma'am, your husband is in phenomenal shape, he's in great health," and we asked him for a secret, and he says that he's really close with God. And the wife goes, "What do you mean?" And the doctor goes, "Well, he told us that he's so close with God that God even goes as far as turning on the lights for him when he goes to pee in the middle of the night." So his wife starts to look all distressed. She's shaking her head, going like this. And we go, "What's wrong, ma'am?" She goes, "So he's the one that's been pissing in the refrigerator at night." So today I went to church to confess one of my most recent sins to the priest. So I sat in the confession booth. I told the priest, I said, "Father, I have sinned." And the priest wanted to hear all about it. So I said to him, I said, "Father, last night I almost cheated on my wife." And the priest goes, "What do you mean you almost cheated on your wife?" So I told him, I said, "Father, I was in a room with another girl. We got naked and all we did was rub each other. We didn't actually do anything." My priest turns to me and goes, "Rubbing together is the same thing as putting it in. Now for your sins, you must never see that woman again. You must say 5 Hail Marys and put $50 into the donation box." So anyway, I tell the priest I'm not going to see the girl again. I say my 5 Hail Marys and I walk out the door. So all of a sudden, my priest comes running after me saying, "Hey, I saw you. You didn't put $50 into the donation box." I looked at him and said, "Yeah, I did. I took the money and rubbed it against the box because it's the same thing as putting it in." I do substitute teaching from time to time, and last week I actually had to substitute for a 7th grade biology class. So the teacher contacted me the night before to tell me what the students are learning, what their homework was and all that, and what the game plan was. So I created a list of questions to test the students on if they understood what they're learning and if they did their homework. The next day I walk into class, and as the day progresses, I tell the students, I said, "I have a list of questions and I want you guys to answer them." The first question I asked the class was, "What body part increases its size by 10 times when stimulated?" Now, all of a sudden, this girl named Kate raises her hand and says, "You are the worst substitute teacher. How can you be asking a group of 7th graders that question? You are disgusting. I'm going to go home and tell my parents and you're going to get fired." So I ignore Kate completely, but she keeps going on about how disgusting of a question this is and this and that. But all of a sudden, this little kid named Billy raises his hand. So I go, "Billy, what part of the body increases 10 times when stimulated?" And he goes, "The pupil, sir." And I go, "Correct, Billy." So I decided to go back to Kate and I say, "Hey, Kate, I have 3 things to tell you. Number 1, you have a dirty mind. Number 2, you didn't do the homework on the eye. And number 3, you're going to be really disappointed in your life." So last night, I met my girlfriend's parents for the first time, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever. So we're having dinner at their house, and it was the first time I met them. And for some reason, I had to fart so badly, like it hurt I had to fart that badly. I coughed, and by an accident, I farted, and the whole table heard it. Immediately, her parents stare at me, and I was so lucky that my girlfriend's dog, her name is Sophie, was sitting right next to me. So her dad goes, "Sophie," and I thought they thought it was the dog who farted. So 5 minutes later, I fart again. I don't know how, but anyway, I fart, and her dad again goes, "Sophie," and I smile again because like, oh my God, he thinks it's the dog. I'm lucky. I lucked out. So towards the end of the night, I sneezed, and by an accident, I let out the largest fart I ever farted in my whole entire life. So then my girlfriend's dad stands up, looks at the dog, and goes, "Sophie, get away from him before he shits on you." Today at work, I was trying to call my wife, but for some reason, my phone calls weren't getting through to her. So I used one of my coworkers' phones to dial my house number and call home. So I call home, and a sweet voice answers the phone. It's my daughter. I go, "Hey, cutie, how you doing?" She goes, "Hey, daddy, what's up?" And I go, "I'm just at work. What are you and mommy doing?" She says, "Well, I just finished lunch, and mommy's upstairs." I go, "Cutie, what's mommy doing upstairs?" She goes, "She's with Uncle Paul." And I go, "Uncle Paul? We don't have an Uncle Paul. What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, she's with Uncle Paul. They're upstairs in their room." So I'm like, "Cutie, that doesn't sound right. So what I want you to do is I want you to leave the phone on the kitchen table, go upstairs to your mommy's room and say, 'Hey, daddy just pulled in the driveway,' and tell me what happens, all right?" She did it, and like a minute later, she comes back and picks up the phone and goes, "Okay, daddy, I did it." And I go, "Okay, what happened?" She goes, "Well, mommy came running out of her room naked, and she tripped down the stairs and bumped her head, and now she can't get up." So I was like, what about the other guy? And she goes, well, Uncle Paul tried to jump out of the window into the pool, but he missed and hit the floor. Now he won't wake up. So I was like, we don't have a pool. Then I look at the phone number and I was like, oh, sorry, wrong number. Today I was working at ShopRite and some lady comes up to me and says, hey, do you know where the broccoli is? Since I do all the produce stocking there, I knew that we were out of broccoli. So I told the lady, I said, excuse me, ma'am, we're actually all out of broccoli. And she goes, okay. Literally 1 minute later, the lady comes back to me and goes, excuse me, sir, where's the broccoli? And I look at her and I said, excuse me, ma'am, I told you, we're all out. Like, there's nothing I can do. We're all out. We'll have more tomorrow. 30 seconds later, this lady comes back to me and goes, excuse me, sir, where's the broccoli? I look at this lady and just take a deep breath. I say, ma'am, do me a favor and spell cat, like in catastrophic. She goes, that's easy, C-A-T. I said, great. Do me a favor and spell dog, like dogmatic. She goes, that's even easier, D-O-G. I said, great. I say, one last thing, ma'am, spell fuck, like in broccoli. Then she goes, there's no fucking broccoli. And I go, that's what I'm trying to tell you, lady. When my grandfather was younger, he was convicted of a crime that he didn't do, and the judge sentenced him to death row. But when it came day to kill my grandfather talked his way out of the whole situation. So when execution day came for my grandfather, there was actually 2 guys in front of him who were going to be killed first. So the guards asked the first guy who was going to be killed, they said, what do you want as your last meal? The guy says, oh, I want a big juicy steak. So they give him the steak, he eats it, and then after he eats it, the guards just kill him immediately. So the guards ask the same question to the second guy getting executed. They say, what do you want as your last meal? The guy says, oh, I want a big lobster. So they give him the lobster, he eats it, and once he eats it, they kill him. So then it came my grandfather's turn to be executed, and they ask him, what do you want to eat as your last meal? My grandfather looks at the guards and goes, I want a big bowl of strawberries. The guards look at him and go, strawberries? Those are out of season. So then my grandfather goes, don't worry about it. I don't mind waiting at all.
As a curious little kid, I went to my mother's little sexy, silly bedtime drawer, and I went in there and found some Astroglide lube, and that might steer a lot of kids the other way, but I was curious, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take that to my room. And I was doing it, and then my mom came home and I heard a loud thud, and I was in my room like, and she goes, Christian. So I come out, she's on the floor, I go, oh my God, are you okay? And she touches the ground and goes, what is this? I guess some of the lube must have fell on the floor. I go, I don't know, what is that, man? And she's like, is that my Astroglide lube? I go, yeah. She goes, why don't you go put that in Mama's bedside drawer and go buy your own? I said, okay. And I think that's when I knew I didn't have a normal childhood.
I'm at the gym right now, and when I was changing in the locker room with all my friends, some random phone rings on the bench, and a guy picks it up. So the guy immediately puts it on speakerphone, and we're all listening. And the lady on the phone goes, hey, honey, how are you? I'm just at the mall right now, and I see this jacket that I really like. It's so warm and cozy. It's $8,000. Do you mind if I buy it? So the guy goes, yeah, no problem, honey. Buy whatever you want. Not a problem. Me and my friends look at each other like, damn, this guy really loves his wife. So the lady on the phone was like, oh, thank you so much. I love you so much. Another thing, honey. You know how my car was slipping in the snow yesterday? Do you mind if I go buy that new BMW for $60,000 on the way home? And the guy, he goes, babe, buy whatever you want. I don't care. I love you, whatever you want. So by then, me and my friends are looking at each other like, damn, we wish this guy was our husband. I mean, he's buying $60,000 cars, $8,000 jackets, only one day. So anyway, the phone call ends, and the guy puts down the phone and turns to us and goes, do you know whose phone that was? I got pulled over today, and the cop comes to my window and goes, license, registration, and proof of insurance. And I look at him, I say, officer, I don't have my license on me, I don't have my registration, I don't have any proof of insurance. So then the cop looks at me and goes, then why the hell were you speeding? I caught you going 90 and 65. And I look at him and I say, officer, the reason I was speeding was because I just killed my girlfriend. I chopped her up and I put her in my trunk. So the cop backs off my window, says, listen, boy, wait right here. And he calls every cop in the area to come look at my car. So my car is now surrounded by cops, and the chief of police does a whole check. He checks my trunk, and all he finds is a backpack. So then he comes to my window. So the chief of police comes up to my window and says, listen, the officer who pulled you over said you had no driver's license, no proof of insurance, no registration, and that you just chopped up your girlfriend and put her in the trunk. But when I looked in the trunk, all I found was a backpack. I found nothing. And I look at the chief of police and I say, yeah, I know. This lying son of a bitch probably told you I'm speeding too, right?